And we are live.
Yes.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are. Welcome to Raising Multilinguals Live, but live chat with Ute and Tetsu. So it's
Yes.
Tuesday
Hello.
afternoon. Let me find Ute on Instagram. Are you
Yes,
there?
I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here, but I don't see you. So
You
I
don't
don't.
see me.
No, I
Well,
don't.
it's supposed to be live already. And let me see. I have no
Um,
requests, so that
I'm
doesn't work.
refreshing. No, it doesn't. I don't see it live. I don't know
Okay.
why.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. We'll take a minute as people slowly come in. And
We restarted.
it the temperature did drop a little bit, but now we're back to a little bit of a humid afternoon here, just outside of Montreal. I don't know how it is over there in
Hmm.
Europe. Is
Yeah,
climate change really happening? Is it really getting warmer and warmer
it's
every
it's
year?
it's it's getting warmer. They
It,
say that it's going to
that's
get very warm this weekend.
hmm
Titso, I still don't see it on Instagram,
That's so strange.
and
It's
I
so
don't see
strange.
it live on
Right.
Raising Multilingual. So.
But it is live on Multilinguals Live. So it is
Okay.
happening. It is happening. So meanwhile, just take a breather. You are on. You're not in the Raising Multilinguals Live Instagram, are you? Are you on your own Instagram?
I'm on my own, and I don't see the Raising Multilinguals going live. So I
So
have no idea what
strange.
is happening.
So strange. Okay.
And
Well, maybe I could find you here. Let me see. I can probably
maybe you can
find you.
invite me.
Ah, there you go. Invite. See, you don't even have to lift a finger. I lift my fingers, and you'll come in.
Yes, that is very good. That is a
Fantastic.
very good
Viva la
thing.
tecnologia. Think
Viva
about
la,
it.
viva la
Imagine.
tecnologia, sì, ma non so perché che cosa è successo oggi comunque. Vabbè, pazienza, ci siamo.
E possiamo parlare in italiano?
Oggi sì,
Oggi
dici?
sì? Ah, ok.
L'altra volta era in francese, oggi era in italiano.
In
Va
italiano o in
bene.
spagnolo?
Spagnolo? Un pochito, sì, lo comprendo bene. Ah, vedo il tuo cane
In
dietro di
coreano?
te.
All right. So enough rambling around. Let's kick it off today. What are we going to be talking about? Uh, just every week, it just feels like days. It just feels like last week we talked to each other. I mean, we talked to each other last week, and it feels like yesterday. And
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just going faster and faster and faster. Oh, I just can't believe it. My kids are gonna get married soon, and then
Oh,
I'll
wait,
be a
wait, wait, wait.
grandpa, and then
Wait, when your children get married, then mine are, I don't know. I don't want to think about so they're a little bit older. They're like 10 years older than yours.
yes,
Oh, so no, but anyway, yeah, you had a nice interview. At least it was published last week that I
yes,
watched with natural languages, right, on YouTube.
yeah. I actually I had two interviews recently. One on a podcast in
Mm.
French from Coralie. So
Mm-hmm.
Coralie had her channel is called La Fabrique à Polyglotte. So
La fabrique à polyglotte.
Fabrique à Polyglotte, so
Oui.
polyglot factory. So
Yes, that was in
it's mainly
French.
it was in French. It's mainly about people learning languages, but she had a
Mm-hmm.
little branch off there for me, talking about my upbringing, but also how I
How about your
raised my
children?
kids in multiple languages. And then it was the same along the same lines. I had natural languages contact
Mm-hmm.
me and do an interview on his channel, and now he wants me on next week in a live stream this time
Oh, that's great.
in interview in Spanish because he
Well,
himself is Spanish.
that's very good. At least as someone who is doing a little bit more languages on YouTube, right? So
Yeah.
I'm planning to to break the algorithm as well by adding more content in other languages on mine. So let's see
Yeah.
how it will respond or react. But you were saying you were talking about your situation, etc., and you were also talking about artificial language immersion. Do you remember the
Mhm.
context? It was, I think, when you were learning Spanish in Ecuador,
Yeah.
was that?
Yes.
So
Yes.
that then, I mean, in Ecuador it was immersion, but then you
When
created another kind of
I
context
came back.
when you came back, and
Yeah.
that made me think. I mean, I like this concept of artificial language immersion. I mean, it's not. what is artificial? With artificial intelligence, we are in a completely different field,
Yeah.
so it's not
It's
that
just,
one that we mean.
I would just say
Or
it's
maybe,
something you create
yes,
actively,
exactly. You create actively, consciously.
consciously.
You create an environment, a context that in other situations would not happen. So you are
Indeed.
creating a world, or like I like to say this multilingual village, or the village that is covered by people, or that is composed by people who speak the language. That's people from all ages and backgrounds, and who speak all kind of registers of the language. So in order to give our children the richest input that they can have in the setting that we are, which is abroad, outside of there. So I told you, yes, I was in that situation. I mean, I never lived in a country where English was spoken, so I learned everything abroad, not in
Yeah.
full immersion. And the same actually also for German, because I didn't grow up in Germany, so it was in Italy, so it was completely out of the context, or let's say the context was really artificial. It was created by the school, by my parents, and some friends, and that's it. And that's the reality that many families face, right?
So hang on, your parents, which one is German?
Both.
Okay, so both your parents are German, but you grew up in Italy because they're
My
working
father,
there?
my father worked in Italy, yes.
Okay. And you were there for how many years?
My parents for almost 30. I was there for 18.
Okay. Are they still living there?
No, they are in Munich now. They
Okay.
turned back to before they went to Paris for a few years, and then
Mhm.
to Munich.
But that was after you left the
Yes,
the
yes, yes,
nest, so to
yes, yes,
speak.
yes. We were all gone.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad we could talk about some of the so your background. You know, I'm getting to know my colleague of more than 3 years now, more and more. You
Yeah.
know how you grew up. I'm totally interested. You know, I've heard bits and pieces. But the thing is, I'm not good at remembering things. Oh, it drives me nuts.
Okay, I'm Ute. I'm Ute.
Oh, you're.
Yes.
Phew.
Yeah.
Oh, but sometimes,
Not
I'm talking
kidding.
to my wife. She tells me about, that friend who did this and that. I'm like, who? It's like my friend, but she knows him or her more than I do, because we had a
Yes.
dinner and then we talked about, what they were doing and what they're up to. And
Yes.
she
I call
remembers
this
all the details. It's amazing. No wonder she's
yeah.
a doctor and not me.
Yeah, it's a bit the same in our family. So.
Yeah.
But I always say, well, there's a little bit of selective memory that stays here. I prefer sometimes I would like to have a selective memory from time to time in terms of not remembering some stuff that is heavy. So it would be nicer not to know that, or not to
Yeah,
remember that. Yes,
because it
but I
takes up
don't.
takes up your hard drive.
I don't know. I think our hard drive is quite big, so I don't think it's
Supposedly.
taking away any space from anything else. Like all the languages, right? There's not
Oh, there you
because you speak different languages that one language is taking the space from the other. This is
go.
completely nonsense. On the contrary, you have like all these little sparkles in your head going on. So yes, but anyways, yeah, we were talking about this term that you
Yes.
mentioned. I really like this artificial language immersion,
Mhm.
which
When people
depends.
when people go to an immersion school, in a,
Mm,
you know, that basically is artificial immersion,
yes, but
right?
they call it immersion, just
Yeah.
immersion. Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's artificial, like
Yeah.
you say.
So
Yeah,
so I just take that concept,
yeah.
further, and create my own artificial immersion.
Yes, you created then at home, or let's say in
Yeah.
in your surroundings, because I mean you are also in
Correct.
contact with society, so it's actually including also the context that is at school. Let's say that your children learn Japanese at school in where you live now. That could be possible. That would be nice.
Indeed.
And then that is part of your artificial immersion program from your family somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, you know, when you're motivated, you want to do it, and either you don't have the resources to pay yourself, you know, classes or go abroad, uh,
Mm.
or you just want to do something different, you know, which is what I
Mm.
did. I went to Ecuador. I had so much fun. I learned a bit of Spanish. I wanted to really step it up when I came back to Canada. So I searched. You know, I was at the Ottawa University at that time, and I found out there was a student association called Salsa. So I think it's
Sasha,
Salsa. I
did you
forget what
dance or did you eat?
I tried. I can't say I was very successful.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
so that was like I think the South American and Latino
Latino.
Student Association, something like that. So Salsa
Claro, claro que
was
sí.
the acronym.
Yeah.
And I made so many friends, you know, who I'm still good friends with on Facebook today, and that was like pivotal in terms of me getting fluent in
Mm-hmm.
in Spanish. It was it was
People.
not it was not formal studying.
No.
I you know
Mm.
it was lots of just partying and going out, having fun with friends, picnics, you know, local travels, and using Spanish all the time with these folks. You know, when they get together, yes, they're there to learn French or English, but when they get
Mm.
together, you know, Spanish takes over, and
Yes.
it's great for me, right? I'm in there using the limited Spanish that I have, but it just exploded. I can just, you know, I could really see and feel my progress, and that's so motivating when you're in that environment and you're having fun and doing it at the same time, you know. So
Yeah, that's the essential part of it
yeah.
to have
Eh,
the,
and I,
the right people
yeah.
to connect with, because we experienced it when we moved here when my son was 2.5, that we moved here from Italy,
Mhm.
and we were looking desperately for Italian speaking families, and with children that our son would play with and relate with, and there were only a few, and they had a completely different schedule, quite different mindset somehow,
Mhm.
and it was very difficult really to find people. It was really a bit like a Sahara for us. It
Mhm.
wasn't so easy to find other families as well, and so that affected also his use of Italian when we
Okay.
were out here. So the context was not easy to build, and it took a long time. I met my dearest Italian friends like 5-6 years later. So
Okay.
there was a gap. There was a big
And
gap.
how did you meet your Italian friend?
That was then at school, through different organizations that
Mhm.
I was a member of, and that was the only way to really connect with them and to find a common ground and common interests, etc. But then some of them had children who were much older or didn't have children yet. So you see, then it clicked with me, for me,
Mhm.
but not for my children. So that was a big obstacle, I think,
Mhm.
for my children to really get into
Yeah,
Italian.
I think there's a level of complexity that is added when it's you know, when it's for the kids
Yeah.
also. Like,
Yes.
like
And
obviously, you know, your main purpose is for them to
yeah.
use the languages. So
Yes, also for me. I mean, I had the need as well to to continue speaking Italian. It was very normal for me. But then I found more people who were fluent in English, like still
Mhm.
is the case, and other languages, and less Italian speakers. But that's something that many families who move a little bit more often or who have to move short notice are facing.
Yeah.
Who will you find in your place, and how will you continue with your language if your child is the only one, or you are the only one who speaks it with your child on a
Mhm.
regular basis? That's not enough.
Yeah, because I was just a student in those days. So what else did I have? other than time. So I was out there. I mean, this is not just Ottawa U, and then I came back to McGill and Montreal to do my undergrad, 4 years. Basically the same thing. I mean, every major university, they'll have their Chinese association, there's Spanish association, their French association. So just seek those out. Just show up at various gatherings, and before you know it, and even outside of university, I remember going to when I first went to Japan to start working there. It's this early 2000s. Before Facebook and all these Facebook groups and whatnot. There was a
That
thing
makes
called,
it easy.
there was a thing called meetup.com.
Yes,
So,
like intonations as well.
intonations?
Internation.
Internations? Oh, okay. I think
Yes.
I remember that, but I didn't use it so much. Yeah.
Yeah, intonations.org, I think. Yes.
It was in those days, eh?
Yeah, and Meetup, well, they still exist. They still exist. And
I don't know if Meetup still exists, but
yes, they do.
people still use that.
Yeah.
Because I was using it till about 2017. But once Facebook group became so popular, I mean, it just kind of sort of replaced everything. Like there's like Craigslist, and there's this thing called Kijiji, which are basically secondary markets where you sell stuff. That's also all on Facebook now with Facebook Marketplace.
But do you meet as often with people on Facebook? In person?
Not anymore.
Not much. No, exactly. But with Meetup, the intent or the aim is really to bring people together in a physical place, so that you go on a boat tour. I just went next to the canal here, next to our home, and they were boats going with teams, having a team building event. But that's something that is still very active here, at least on this side of the pond.
Well, again, I wouldn't see why that couldn't be done on Meetup. I mean, on Facebook. If you don't know about Meetup, and you know about Facebook groups, then you just search for a Facebook group. If you're already on Meetup and you don't want that switching cost to come over to Facebook, I understand. But if you're already on Facebook and you're on all these different groups, any of these groups.
It's another way to bond, to make connections.
Yeah.
If you do them in person, it's a little bit different, and then maybe you meet up with one person at the time, or two or three, and then it's a different kind of relating to each other if you're not on screen. But as you said, yes, if it is about languages and fostering languages, and any mean is helpful.
That's right.
And can be something that is like a little light moment of the week, where you say, okay, this is my French hour or hours that I spend with that person, maybe on the other side of the world, speaking French, because you don't have anyone else here around you, or that has the same interest. Because maybe you find people, which was my problem, I found people who spoke the language, but we didn't have the same interests. I was sitting there smiling and saying, but actually I want to talk about something else.
Good call. So once you have something like Meetup, which is really about meeting up, and it's not just the languages, you can have like English meetup in Tokyo around picnics, or I don't know,
anything. Yes,
onsen, which are these hot springs, or hiking, or skiing group, things like that. Then you're combining languages and interests, and that really
Yes, I just compared it a few days ago with another expat who moved here and was looking for these kind of meetups, and was asking what do they do, playing tennis and pétanque and everything you want. And I said it's like a language play group for adults, if you want. Okay, it doesn't need to be about languages, but it can be about languages. So you can have, I don't know, a meeting and play golf and talk Chinese, for example. Okay.
Yeah.
So you'll find people who are interested. And I must say, in the past years, when I observed a little bit these platforms, I saw that there is much more interest in not learning a language. Yeah, you meet and you talk about, and what are you talking about? again, if you don't have much in common, then maybe you just stop after 2 or 3 times.
That's
But
right.
if it is about an activity that you enjoy, you're distracted from the language. You take the language as a means of communication, which it is, but you dig into the vocabulary that otherwise you would not use so often. Because I mean, you don't talk about golf, for example. You don't talk about volleyball with your partner. Well, my husband also plays volleyball, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's something that can be very useful, and that's not a given when you are in Facebook groups, right? Unless you have a topic that you want to talk about.
No, but my point about Facebook group is just using it as a platform like Meetup to schedule these in-person meetups.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, for convenience, if you're new to all this, all the functions are there on Facebook, same as Meetup. It's just the name Meetup is better, I guess, to suggest real in-person meetups. But these social groups, these interest groups, if you just add a city to it, then it becomes basically, for all intents and purposes, a meetup group.
Yes. No, absolutely, yes. Yes. Let us say hello to those who are following us. I see that Joanna is following us at the moment.
Hello.
Hello. If you have any question, or you would like us to talk about a certain topic, we were talking about the artificial
AI.
language.
We're talking about AI.
No, the ALI. You missed the L.
I just call it AI, artificial immersion.
Okay, it's going to break all kind of things on the internet to say, what is this? So no, artificial language immersion. So what we were talking about, which is in fact what is happening in schools as well. It's also artificial to some extent.
Yes. Nothing wrong with that. We bring in an au pair into our family. We create an artificially, Spanish environment for the kids. So that's AI also in action.
Yes, and we had an ersatz aunt for our children, who was to have an aunt because the others were too far away, or a grandpa. We had a ersatz grandpa for my son in Italy as well. Era il nonno di Francesco. It was so nice. Okay. And another aunt who was our babysitter, but then she was also my ersatz sister to some extent.
What's ersatz again?
Ersatz is replacement or instead of.
Okay.
So it's not nice to say that, but it's a term that is that people can understand. So
hey, Yoshito's in the house.
It's like a placeholder. Hi, Yoshito. Hi.
Hello, Yoshito, how are you doing?
He's waving. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yoshito might be quite interested in this topic where we're talking about creating artificial immersion situations. It all began with myself doing that when I was a student and going around finding these clubs and these associations at the university, the Spanish Association specifically, when I was younger. So, and when I was in Japan, I did all these. I was in the Spanish meetup, the French meetup, the Chinese meetup, and I was, at all these meetups every weekend. I'd go to a different one and say hello and make lots of friends. Many very dear friends that I continue to communicate with on Facebook today, even though I'm here now in Canada.
Yeah.
When I go back,
and in Canada, do you have these groups? Do you have meetup groups of that kind?
Yes, we do. When I was organizing Langfest, we used to have a big meetup group, and then we do these meetups. When we're not in the event itself, we get these meetups, and people come around, and we have a Spanish table, a French table, an English table.
Yeah, we had them as well here in The Hague, for example, but in all major cities, I think. Here in The Hague, it was in the public library. They had yes, it's near the public library. They had big tables, and then with flags of different countries that were signalizing, well, the languages. And then you could sit there, and either you had someone who was native speaker, don't let me get into the native speaker kind of thing, or it was someone who just wanted to practice. So you could sit there and just practice, and you found out, like after 5-10 minutes, okay, this is a person who knows that kind of words, and that's the other one, that's a very fluent one. And you were listening, or I was listening, and that was very interesting to hear. And then you could just hop from table to table. It's an evening, and then you go from one table to the other, and that was for me like heaven. It was great to just listen sometimes, or just this. Some call it the cacophony of languages, but for me it's like a symphony of languages, because it's really nice to listen to these different stuff.
One thing that's
something I would like to do again.
One thing that's very difficult for these groups to have sustainability is the balance between those who are interested in one language and those who provide the input for that language. The incentives of these people coming, time and time again, and then because it's usually not a bilateral language exchange. It's usually just one. Like you have a Spanish meetup, and it's about Spanish, but you need native speakers, and you need. Because if it's just a group of people who are interested in Spanish, you talk about Spanish, and you don't talk in Spanish about something else. You get what I mean? So, and it's hard if you're not interested in languages. Like if you have kids, you want them to be in this environment to use the target language, but they're not interested in the target language itself. Then
Yeah, but I must say that these gatherings that I went to, we didn't really talk about the language, so we didn't have metalinguistic conversations. Only every now and then, if someone said, "Oh, why do you use that word?" or "What does it mean?" but not to an extent that it would take over the conversation that we had about the children, the beach, celebrations, whatever, our everyday life, whatever we wanted to talk about. So that was the center of it. So it was not about learning the language. It was really about having a conversation in the language, and even sometimes really listening. There were people who were just listening. They said, "Okay, I'm not there yet, but I want to listen." And then every now and then they said something, maybe a very short sentence. So it was a very vertical group, if you know what I mean. It's like, with people who are very advanced and others who are just beginners. But then the beginners are not like sent away and said, "No, you can't follow." No, you can sit there if you want, and then you can maybe pick up a few things and then build up from there. So that was, I think it's a great way also to get motivated for everyone.
When you find that mix of people, that's fantastic. It's magic. It's magic. I totally agree. It's just that I'm just saying it's kind of hard to have that good mix.
Yes, it was
sustainable. Also, if you have a very big gap between the members, that's also not sustainable, because
it's a little bit like when we talked the other day, and we're saying how to help newly arrived families or newcomers here in the Netherlands. And if you couple them, if you put them in a group with children who are very fluent, the children who are very fluent are going to get bored, or they are going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to." You're not motivated. And those who just arrive are not motivated, because the level of fluency of the others is just way too hard. So finding a common ground, something like that. But what I found in these kind of groups that I observed was really, if you focus on the topic, not the language. The language is something that even adults can talk with gestures, with nonverbal communication. So it's not that important that you get every single word right and that you understand everything. At some point, it's important we're talking about horses, not cats. Something like that. So it's a little bit. That's why I said the other day, it's like these play groups or language play groups for children, just for adults. But anyway, but maybe someone who is following us wants to say something or maybe share their experience with these kind of things of immersion into a language whilst living abroad. We have Spot of Sunshine Chinese.
Spot of Sunshine Chinese. There you go.
There we go.
Hello. Yeah, with these groups, organizing these groups is probably just, it's very hard. It's very hard to get that critical mass at the beginning. Because if you have a solid number of people, then they will automatically pair up, group off into relatively similar interests, relatively similar levels, but if you're only like 8 or 10 people, there's always going to be like just like a few who are really into it and the others who are on the outskirts. So it's building up that critical mass is lots of work.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where I think your idea to organize these through Facebook groups, where you can have a feeling a little bit of who is in the group, who has commented how on what kind of post, and then you find a little bit the people who are on the same page as you and who are maybe interested in the same things, and there you can build this, I think, in a more organic way. Not
speaking of which, it just popped up in my head right now, but do you think our audience would like to have like a gathering, like online gathering like this, where we talk about
what?
Of course, about the kids, raising multilingual kids, but just a little group of 10 to 20 people. Can that be done? Oh, we can do that on StreamYard. I think we can do it.
We can do on StreamYard up to 10 people, not on Instagram.
Not on Instagram.
And we could also try out the is that the chat function on Facebook? I don't know if it's that one, but we can try out different things where more people can actually then appear either on screen. You don't know if people want to appear on screen and then be in live on YouTube immediately. Not everyone likes that. So
of course
we can do a questionnaire and ask.
Just throwing it out there right now, I guess, and we can run a poll.
Yes,
maybe.
And talk about these topics also in different languages, as we are constantly talking in English. And we started a little bit with Italian, so for those who are just joining now, we had a little moment of Italian. I managed to make him speak a little bit of Italian, però non mi riesce sempre, perché tanto in tanto poi dopo lui si sposta e dice parliamo in spagnolo, e io dico no, io ti parlo in italiano, tu mi parli in spagnolo.
Ah, ok.
Secondo me funziona.
Muy bien. ¿Hablamos en español entonces?
Sì.
Sì?
No, tu parli in spagnolo e io in italiano, facciamo una conversazione bilingue.
Sì. Ok.
Va bene, proviamo. Di cosa parliamo? Stavamo parlando di un questionario, no?
Sì. Hacer un poll, ¿no? En el Facebook group, a ver si hay gente que quisieran encontrar con nosotros en un grupito de 10, 15 personas, hablar de niños, criar niños bilingües, multilingües.
Sì, 10 persone, perché su StreamYard si possono avere solo 10, altri 5 poi non so dove li mettiamo, non so se riusciamo a metterli da un'altra parte.
Sì, è verdad.
Ma si potrebbe anche fare, non lo so, su Zoom o in un altro modo comunque, no?
Sí, pero es más complicado. Sí. Por Zoom tengo que hacer otro stream que entra en StreamYard, que pasa al Facebook.
Sì, ma soltanto se lo vuoi fare live. Se non lo vuoi fare live, puoi fare Zoom senza quello, insomma. Poi dopo fai un recording,
Verdad.
E poi lo condividi dopo. Vedi che riusciamo anche a parlarci. Benissimo.
Condividido es compartir.
Compartir.
Condividir.
Condividere. No, condividere is not
condividere.
Condividere vuol dire prendere una cosa e portarla sull'altra. Cioè condivido la tua idea.
To share.
Anche quello. Sì, condividere.
Sì, es compartir.
Compartir.
En español es compartir.
Ah, pensavo che dicevi compartir dell'idea che avevo. era quella. Non mi ricordo cos'era il contesto, adesso mi sono persa.
Ah, no me acuerdo tampoco.
Qualcosa
People have got lots of question marks on their head now. What the hell is happening here? I thought it was Spanish, but no, that doesn't sound like Spanish.
No.
I thought it was Italian, but
Sì.
wonder how fun this is for people who don't speak the language and watch us go, you know.
Mhm.
Oh well.
But I think a few of the words that we used are recognizable, so I
Yeah.
think they know what we're talking about.
We'll see in the comments one day. People will go, what?
Yeah.
Because
No.
we have Spanish in common, you know, even though
Italian.
it's not so strong. Italian, which is not so strong for me. I'm more of a passive, I guess. And
French.
German to a certain degree, maybe.
French
is one that we're,
Yes.
we can do to a higher level.
And English.
Obviously. What else do we have?
I
No
think
Japanese, no Korean.
No, Korean is very receptive, very receptive. On my end. Japanese, no, I'm not there yet.
No. Bring your son up one day.
I would need to call my son, yes, but he's studying for exams.
So he's still living with you? I thought he was moving far.
Yes, no, he found something, so he's going to move out in a week or so. So he's very happy.
I thought you were going to be sad.
He's very happy. No, I'm happy because I know it's time, and it's an experience that every student needs to make.
Of course.
So, of course, as a mom, I'm not so happy, but because
Far?
I'm like a mamma chioccia. No, just a few kilometers down.
Oh.
I mean, it's really not far away. But I always said I'm not one of those moms who would send her children 1,000 kilometers away or into. No,
what if they want to go?
Then I have to deal with that.
My parents.
Deal with that.
My parents sent me out at 13. So
yes, yeah, but you see, it were your parents who sent you out. Also, my parents sent me out when I was 18. They were saying, "Okay, you're not going to study in Italy. You're going to study somewhere else in any other country." And I just managed to go to Switzerland. It's really very close. But well, it was on the other side of the Alps, which was already a thing in Zurich. But they sent me away. So I wanted to study in Milan, but I was sent away. But yeah, did you want to go when you were 13?
Honestly, at that time, no. But it's for stupid reasons, I had all my dogs. I didn't want to leave the dogs, and
same for me.
That's how you are at that age. So.
Yes, exactly. But
obviously, you're not thinking, "Oh, if I go to Canada, my future is going to be so bright. I'm going to have this."
No, I don't care about the future.
No, I was at school thinking to myself, "These people don't speak English. What am I going to do?" Yeah.
Completely. Yes. Yeah. It was tough for you.
Yeah, but it wasn't a surprise. It's not like tomorrow you're going to go. It was sort of eased into it over a good 3 years.
Oh, okay. Then
so,
other children don't have that time. Some children that I know, they have maybe 2-3 months, if it's good, to get used to. Okay, you're going to say goodbye, and sometimes not even that. Sometimes the parents even wait until the last month, and then everything is like, okay, box is here, you pack, we go. Other language, other friends. I don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand if the company suddenly says, you have to, you're being sent to somewhere else and you have to leave within a week or two. I can sort of understand, if that's the situation, but still, as much as possible, maybe dad could leave first, and then, the kids could finish their school year and then leave, or whatever it is. I'd always want to find a way to let the kid know that his life is important too.
Yes.
First and foremost, let's see how we can accommodate all this. I mean, if I don't work, there is no family life. So I have to go, but let's see how can I make this good for your life also?
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, more and more companies are more aware of the needs of the families, but not so many years ago, even 10 years ago, there were companies who just would send the families away. And then, I mean, you can't always leave part of the family behind and finish the school year, etc., because they are on a visa. And the visa is dependent on the person who's working. So the moment the person who's working leaves the country or the continent, they need to go with them.
Yeah. No, like I say, I understand that there are circumstances. That's not, you know, I'm just saying if you have a choice.
Yes.
There's some people, they have a choice, but they just don't address it until like 2 weeks before.
Absolutely.
You know, and I just find it's unfortunate, you know, because it may not be a big thing for you, the adult, but for a child in the child's world, it's a big thing to uproot everything. You know, the only few friends that they've made over the past few years, you know, it's something you have to respect that, you know, and that's where I find, you know, and not to be stereotypical here, but I think Asian culture have a lot more of this vertical way of thinking. So, you know, you don't put the kid life not first, but you know, even on the same level. So that's where I find it's unfortunate. You know, it is very authoritarian in that sense, and it has its advantages. You know, but it has
absolutely, yes, and I think
is this part where you sort of make the child feel inferior, and his life matters less. That I feel is something that could be avoided just by being more considerate and talking about it much earlier and involving the child in.
Yes, because that doesn't change the fact that it's still the parents who take the decision. Still the parents who say, okay, we are going left.
Of
but
course.
It's just making, if you involve the child early on or as early as you can, of course you have to deal also with the many ups and downs because of the refusal of the outbursts of I don't know what, but it's part of the transition. But I also understand that many parents just cannot face that. They can't cope with that because they have so many on their plate already, and then when the children are against, and then maybe the children have exams or whatever, it's really a lot to take. But I see that Yoshito is leaving a comment. He said in Korean and Japanese families it often happens that the parent working goes on their own. Yes, and there are other cultures that have the same. Exactly.
It's just very accepted. Like
yes.
The
I have I've seen many also from European countries or the European continent that do the same. Yeah.
Well, in Japan and I assume Korea, it's still very normal to have just one parent working, and when the mom is just a stay-at-home mom. So the dad can leave to a different place for the week, come back on the weekends, because Japan is only the size of California. So a short flight away, they can come back for the weekend and then leave again on Sunday night, work for the whole week, come back.
Yes.
That happens
very often.
Quite a lot.
We had it also with some colleagues of my husband. Also, they have the wife with the children living in another country for different reasons. Also because the schools cannot comply to what the family needs.
Yeah.
For example, if you have a child with special educational needs and you need these helps,
that's another level
in another language, you don't get it. So what do? You have you meet your family once a week or maybe once a month, or once every 2 or 3 months, the other family. So
sometimes they send you abroad, and the family can't come, so you go on your own. And some people like that. I can't imagine.
Tra moglie e marito non metterci il dito, like you say in Italian. You don't interfere with any kind of relationship between husband and wife. That's their thing. So that's their choice. It's everybody's choice. But of course, there are situations or realities that are very very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
We have someone else from Growing Enjoy Parenting. Hello, hi.
Enjoy parenting. Wow, what a great handle name.
Yes.
It's definitely lots of joy.
Joy's parenting, yes. It's not always a joy, but it can be made enjoyable.
It's always a joy.
Oh, what is
There
the
are times,
saying?
where I have to act like I'm mad at the kids for whatever they did, but inside I'm sort of smiling and just going, I would have done the same thing, but it's okay. I have to tell I have to scold you.
Yes, it's what happens to me very often, because I wasn't that kind person that everyone thought I was and everything. But sometimes when my daughters especially, but all my children, I think they're listening. But anyway, but I told
You see
them.
some protest behind you.
No, I can see in their eyes when they are up to something. And when they are just saying something, I said, you remember I was your age and I did exactly the same thing. So just tell me. I know already there's something coming on. So, and then they say, how do you know? It's like, I have like a 6, 7, 8 sense. I don't know how many, but I know what you're up to. And then we laugh. And then I say, okay, I'm just looking the other side and the other way. So if you don't see what you're doing and do your stuff and do these silly things, that's fine. If we don't do silly things and strange things when we're young, when we're adults, people would treat us very badly.
You're totally correct.
You need to do them when you're children.
Mm-hmm.
When you're
the
young.
only thing I care about is safety. So that's the only thing. So they'll drop. When my oldest is probably the most careless. He's the one who's kind of absent-minded in everything. He'd bump into stuff and pour all the soup on the floor and that kind of thing. And whenever it happens, I tell him, I don't care about the soup. And this is just a little thing. But this same attitude towards things could end up getting you hit by a car, could end up getting you, cutting your hand with a knife. I need you to be more careful and more into what you're doing right now to make sure
more focused, right? Yeah, but it's difficult because we see it from the outside. We see it because we have the experience. And how many times did I see my children hurt themselves, and then I said, okay, I saw it coming. But I can say 10 times, 100 times, be careful, watch out. And then
doesn't mean anything until something
it hurts,
happens, right?
until it hurts either physically or psychologically as well. So we cannot save them from everything. But as I said, as long as it's just not threatening, it's okay.
And you cannot. Lots of things you cannot forbid them to do it. They're just going to do it anyways.
Yes.
Things like snowboarding. When I take them to snowboard, I can't tell them don't jump. Don't jump on that thing or that big jump right there. The only thing I can do is give them enough exposure, give them a coach to teach them how to jump the right way or safe way,
and how to fall. How to fall, right? To roll or to fall in a certain way that you don't break your arms or something. That's essential. But parenting is a tough thing. We got inspired by your name, Growing Enjoy Parenting.
It is parenting. Multilingual parenting is parenting first and foremost. So we should always talk about these topics. But we've got more folks coming in. Hello. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the discussion. We actually have a good comment from Yoshito. Says this can have some good consequences. My Japanese learned to cook as he was working far away from his wife. Okay, my Japanese friend probably learned to cook. From his wife and daughters. After this experience, he started helping more at home. So this was when we were discussing about dad having to being sent somewhere far
away,
and the family didn't follow, and there are some good consequences indeed. Indeed.
There are absolutely, yes, and also those who stay behind that become very much independent and
Yeah.
can do many things alone. Yeah.
Unintended consequences.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
So, armonía multilingüe. Bienvenido, bienvenida. And a wise con one. Hello, hello. It's always fun to see very original handle names.
Okay. I don't see
Sometimes,
them.
sometimes the handle names tell you what the account is about. Sometimes it's just the name of the
And
person.
sometimes not.
Yeah, and sometimes
This is
it's
what
very difficult to pronounce.
yeah, and
Sometimes
being
sometimes it looks very difficult to pronounce, but when you break it down, you find out it's just a sentence of something.
but you need to find where the word ends. If it's now a noun, or maybe it's an adjective or something, and that's why I was like, "Whoa," before I felt really like a 3-year-old trying to decode a longer name now, but you know what I mean. So
All right. So
what shall we end with? So
what shall we end with? Well, so we've been talking about what kind of contents that we're putting out there. We're thinking about asking the folks, if there's any recommendations for speakers, if or speakers as in guests on the Raising Multilinguals live monthly interview. So every third week, third Tuesday of the month, we have a full hour interview with an expert in the field of raising multilingual kids. Sometimes it's academics, sometimes it's head of institutions, sometimes it's just somebody like you and me, just somebody who's raising multilingual kids and's got some very good ideas to share. Sometimes it's influencers. So folks can let us know what, maybe not necessarily specific names, or specific names are great,
or topics.
or just or topics, and what kind of experts, like more. We'd like to hear more from speech pathologists, for example. Or more topics about language and autism. We've had a few of those. Anything that is of particular interest that we've have or have not covered, different perspectives to a same topic, anything is welcome.
Yes. I would love also to have someone who speaks about being model bilingual. Is this one parent who is deaf, or both parents deaf, and the child is speaking, and how they communicate, and how because these are also two languages, even if it's the sign language from the same language, but sometimes it's also the sign language from one parent and the verbal language from the other, and that I find highly interesting. I know it's very tough, or it can be very tough, and especially when then they live in a third country, and the parent with a sign language has two sign languages, and the child learns the sign language of the parent who is deaf, and speaks the local language. That is something that I find very, very interesting. And I found some studies, but not enough, actually.
Sign language, fascinating. It's
yes.
Because when I was, stupid and young, I thought, oh, if you know sign language, you know all the languages in the world. Like, no.
There's a language for everything.
That's not how it works.
Yes, it's not how it works, but that makes it even more interesting, because then you have code mixing and signs.
Wow.
How awesome is that? And yes, I mean, I've spent once during a train ride between Zurich and Munich. That's about 4 hours, and I had a group of signing. They were all deaf, and I tried to understand what they were saying. There were some signs that you could understand, but then in the end, I think that they were speaking different languages, because the gesticulation was completely different, or there were differences.
It appeared to you.
It appeared to me, but maybe it was, just putting in some words or something. I would like to know more. One of my daughters is learning, or started learning, sign language. So yes, and she really enjoys this.
And this is Dutch sign language. This is
It's
BSL?
no, it's Dutch Sign Language. Yes,
Okay. See,
yes.
even French, there's the French, and there's the Quebec Sign Language
Correct
too.
sound. Yes.
Just imagine,
No,
because the
but
Quebec accent is completely
but
different
but
from
you
the.
know, we cannot say that we don't understand sign language after COVID. At least here in the Netherlands and in some other countries where the news were all translated in sign language as well for those who don't listen, don't hear. So there were a lot of words that we learned thanks to these persons who were standing next to the person, talking about the news. I don't know.
Wow.
Was it so in Canada as well? Did they also translate
No,
into sign language? No.
only governmental stuff,
Okay.
but not just everyday programming. I don't think so.
Okay. No governmental stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be. Yeah.
And there's this thing about lip reading that I always wonder. Is it very hard? Is this a skill that's very hard to learn? Because
I must say, maybe that's for another time. But when I was between 0 and 4 years old, I had very often ear infections, and
okay,
for 1 year I didn't hear much.
wow,
So I actually started lip reading, and my parents realized that I was not listening. I was not hearing what they were saying because I heard like the and then I turned towards them and they repeated what they were saying, and I was lip reading. But
really?
they discovered when once they were very worried because I was not responding when they were talking like this with me.
Wow.
So I was looking at
So-
them like, I have no idea what you're saying. I hear you saying something. I have no idea what you're saying.
So there
found
you
this
go.
out.
If you know how to lip read, does that mean you can lip read in all the languages that you speak?
It depends. I think
It's the same technique, I suppose.
it's the same technique,
Right?
but if
It's
you
not like you learn one sign language, but you don't know
no,
the other languages.
yeah, no. I mean, I could lip read my parents. I could lip read the teachers at the daycare where I was, my sister. So
How good is that? I mean, is it very reliable?
I
Or
don't. I think it was quite reliable because
yeah,
I did things that they asked me to. But just if they were in the other room and I heard, the only thing I could hear was a noise like oh,
'cause
but not
there
a word.
must be a lot of variability depending on the person. People who articulate very well and speak clearly,
That is helpful. That is helpful.
I mean, if you have like a ventriloquist in front of you, it's
No.
like,
Then
speaking
you
like this.
Yeah, then you can't. No.
So that's the variability rather than different languages. It's the
Yeah.
variability within the same language of people who the way they articulate will probably.
But then also
change a lot.
cross languages, because if you have a teacher who speaks Italian or so, I needed to understand also the other people, the people in the shops. I understood what they were saying by reading their lips, but they were all articulating in a way that they didn't leave the mouth shut like this, and you can't tell what you're saying. But they were really opening, and a lot was in the gesticulation,
What a fun
in
topic.
how they relate to you, if they're looking at you.
One more level of complexity is first you have to know what the hell this language is before you can understand. Because if you don't know which language it is, then how can you lip read?
Yes, but if you know the person, you know which language she's probably
But I'm saying if you're watching TV and
if you oh yes, that's fun. That's fun. I tried this once when we were watching. I didn't know if it was on Netflix, and I didn't know if it was actually a movie from Norway or Sweden or something. But I tried to lip read, and I was completely lost. I couldn't. I didn't recognize the actors, so I was like, I don't know, somewhere in the north, because it is a game. You can make a game out of this and say, what language is this movie? And you only have a little snap from I don't know, maybe 2 minutes, and then you have to determine what language it is. But you can also switch on the volume, actually.
Fun. Yoshito says, I hear better people when I have my glasses on. So I think that's unconsciously. Must be reading lips. Is that true?
Because Actually, seriously? Okay.
It might be, but you're not looking at people's lips, so you're looking at people's eyes when you
You
communicate.
lip read? No, but you look also at the lips. But I think this focusing on one sense, that's a very very common thing.
Huh.
We discussed in one group once, when you drive into a garage with a car, and you try to, maybe it's very narrow, and there were some who were saying, I always open the windows, then I have a better feeling for how wide my car is and where I can park and these things. And I do the same, actually. Here in the Netherlands, the parking spaces are very narrow. So if you have a big car, and we have one big car, you really have to get like centimeters. And if you don't, well, you know the consequences. But this is why I take down the windows, and I said to everyone, don't say a word until I'm parked. I feel like what I hear, or I don't know. It's very interesting, but that Yoshito needs to have his glasses on in order to hear. Was it to hear, or was it to lip read, or to understand?
Understand.
That's fun. Yeah.
He said he's serious. I guess so.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. Lip reading. It's a big topic that we could maybe do another time. But today it's actually past the hour. Well, been talking nonstop again. It's always fun. Thank you, Ute.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for following us and for your comments. Thank you, Yoshito. And
so we'll be back again next week. Next week is not the third Tuesday, is it? No. Good. So next week is Ute and I will be prepare some questions for us. If you want, we'll be talking about kids. What's new? Multilingual, bilingual, or even monolingual kids. If you can find monolingual kids, right? Okay. So we'll see you again next week then. Bye now.
Bye.